Hi, my name is Romujit and welcome to our fourth video on Sccm lab preparedness. Little bit on my background. I am having 8 years of experience in IT field supporting Intel, VMware, Configuration Manager and Cloud. In our last video, we configured firewall policy for our SQL and Sccm application and also for client systems. If you already have an environment, this might not be as usual for you because we will be jumping around on quite a few configuration before Sccm installation. Based on this flow, in this video, I will show you how to install and configure SQL Server for our Sccm site database. So before starting the installation, I want to share the general hardware requirements for Sccm site servers. I have already bookmarked the link. Let me open to see the CPU and memory requirements. As you can see, a standalone primary server with site database requires 16 CPU and 96 GB of RAM. Also, the SQL memory allocation should be 80% of total assigned memory. For a standalone primary with remote database configuration, the CPU core will be 8 and memory requirement is 16 GB. Most of the scenario, cache doesn't come into play, but there might be some geological restriction. In that case, you need to plan your hierarchy with cache. Also, we will check the disk requirements. So, we can see we will require 4 different types of disk drive here for our site database. This table shows the amount of disk we need for minimum and additional user volume that we want to manage in our infrastructure. Note, these are the maximum supported clients. If you are in plan to implement Sccm for an organization, then plan the hardware sizing accordingly. In our lab setup, we no need to worry on it as there will be few numbers of clients, so database growth will be minimum. So continue to our SQL setup. Let me add the required disk to the server. Please allow me some time to add them. Alright, I have added the required drivers to our SQL server. Let me show you. I have added 25 GB for SQL data, 30 GB for config manager database, 20 GB each for SQL log and tempdb. Also, I have created a folder structure as per my drive requirement, like MS SQL logs, MS SQL data, and for tempdb, MS SQL logs and data. So let's start the installation. I have already copied the SQL 2017 standard edition ISO file. Let me mount it first. Note, before install, we will create a service principal name for our SQL instance. A service principal name is a unique identifier for a service instance which use Kerberos authentication to associate the instance with a service logon account. Open PowerShell, go to command prompt. We can create the SPN with a very simple set SPN command followed by server name, then port number and the domain account name. Hit enter. Alright, we have successfully created the SPN for our SQL instance. Also, I will create one more with my SQL Server's fully qualified domain name as well. Looks good. Now go to SQL installation wizard. On installation tab, select new SQL Server standalone installation. As we are using the Evolution edition, click on next. I accept. Next. Next. Ignore the firewalls as we already allowed the ports from our from group policy. Next. Select database engine here and keep the installation directory as default. Next. Leave the default instance name. Next. You can customize the instance name here as you want. Okay. Here we will configure our service accounts for SQL Server agent and database engine service. Search for SA-SCCM_SQL. As this service account we have created earlier to manage our SQL Server. Click on OK. OK. Put the service account's password and set the SQL agent service startup type as automatic, as I will create some future maintenance plan for SCCM automatic backup jobs. Check the collection type. Click on next. On database engine configuration, we will give permission to two groups here. So any users that part of these groups will have the administrative rights to SQL instance. Select SQL full admin and SCCM full admin group here. OK. Next we will configure instance data directory. Change the data root directory to configuration manager database, that is E, MS SQL data, user directory will be the same, MS SQL data. Change user log directory to database logs, MS SQL logs, that is F, and backup directory to SQL data backup, that is D. Next we will configure the temp DB. I will change the auto growth to 256 MB for data files and remove the default path. Add temp DB SG MS SQL data for data files. Also change the auto growth to 256 MB for logs file and set it to G MS SQL logs. Next. You can keep this configuration.ini file for future use. We just need to change some parameters here like service account details, etc. if we use different account. Click on install and allow me some time to pause the video during the installation. Alright, our SQL installation completed successfully. Check the summary and close the wizard. In SQL Server 2017, we need to install Management Studio separately, as it is not came with the ISO file. Run the setup. Yes. Leave the installation directory as default and click on install. Alright, Management Studio installation is also successful. Close the wizard now. Next, we will install SQL Server Reporting Services. This is also separate installation. Run the setup file. Click on Install Reporting Services. We will be using the trial version. Next. I accept. Next. Next. Leave the default installation directory and install. Alright, reporting service also installed successfully. Close the wizard now and reboot the server. Continue. Let me log in. Oops. Alright. Now we will configure the SQL memory allocation. So our server will consume the exact memory that we configured. To configure this, open SQL Server Management Studio. Click on Connect. Right click on the instance, Properties. On Memory tab, change the minimum server memory to 8 GB, that is 8192 MB, as this is the minimum requirement for Configuration Manager site database, and set the maximum to 9 GB, approx 9200 MB. I think. Then click on OK to complete it. For Configuration Manager site database, we need a supported SQL version to proceed. Let us check the supported SQL version for SQL Server 2017 recommended by Microsoft. I have already bookmarked the link. Let me open. As we can see, Configuration Manager requires at least cumulative update 2 for SQL Server 2017 and cumulative update 5 for 2019. You can download these updates from Microsoft Update Catalog website. Just search the catalog update here. Open the first link and you just need to provide the KB number here and then you can download it. I have already downloaded and copied the KB in our local server. Let's update our SQL instance first. Note, we can apply the latest patch released from Microsoft on this case. I accept. Next. It will check the running processes related to SQL. You can close the process from Task Manager. It will take some time to analyze the process in background. Okay. Click on Next and Update. It will update the version 14.0.1000 to 14.0.3. As you can see here. Let me pause the video during the update. I will be back soon. Alright, our instance has been patched successfully. Now we will reboot our server. Close the wizard. Okay, let me log in first. Oops, again, sorry. Alright. Now we will verify the SQL Server version from SSMS console. Open SQL Server Management Studio. I'm sorry. Connect. See, the version has changed to 14.0.3430 from 14.0.1000. After this, we will configure our report server. Open report server configuration wizard. Leave the server name and instance as default and click on connect to connect the instance. Go to service account tab. Choose another account. Here you need to specify the account name that we want. In our case, it is HYNS/SA-SCCM_RPT. Put the password and then click on apply. Alright. Now go to web service URL. Check the virtual directory name and port number here. If you want to customize it, make the necessary changes. In our case, I will leave this as default and apply. Next, select database. Click on change database. We will create a new database for our report server. Click on next. Test connection. Next. Next. Authentication type. Next. Next. Now the scripts are running to creating the database. And finish. Now select Web Portal URL tab. Leave it as default and click on Apply to continue. We will not configure any other options here. So close the wizard. Now if we check, we can see there will be two databases created for report server under root directory. Report server and report server tempdb. Also the database file will be located under EMSQL data. Alright, that should cover, I think, what I want to cover on today. We will do future video on how to install and configure WSUS and WSUS database step by step. Please feel free to comment and share your questions if you like the video. Thank you.